I arrived at my daughter Sarah's house that Thanksgiving with a $60 bottle of wine and gifts for the kids. The dining room was packed with family. During dinner, my granddaughter Emma complained about not getting the latest phone. Then Sarah looked straight at me and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You know what the best gift would be, Dad? The day when you're gone. Then we could finally stop pretending to care." The fork stopped halfway to my mouth. Nobody said a word. I sat there frozen, my heart pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Sarah's 3 kids giggled nervously, unsure how to react. Her husband Greg reached for the wine bottle, refilled his glass to the brim, and said casually, "She's got a point, David. You've been kind of a burden lately." A burden. The word hit me like a slap across the face. I pushed back from the table, mumbled something about needing the bathroom, and walked down the hall on shaky legs. In the bathroom, I gripped the edges of the sink and stared at my reflection. My face was pale, my hands trembling. From the dining room, I could hear muffled laughter. They were laughing. Standing there, memories flooded back. 7 years ago, my wife Patricia died of cancer. I held her hand through every chemotherapy session, every hospital stay, every moment of pain. 3 weeks after her funeral, Sarah showed up at my door with real estate listings. She wanted me to sell our house, the house where we raised her, so she could have her inheritance early. She needed money for a down payment on this very house I was standing in. I gave her $150,000. 3 years ago, Greg lost his job. For 18 months, I paid their mortgage. $32,000 total. I moved out of my comfortable home into a cramped apartment so I could afford to help them. Last Christmas, Sarah said the kids needed reliable transportation. I bought her a brand new SUV, $28,000. Every weekend for the past 4 years, I babysat Emma, Jackson, and Lily. Friday night through Sunday afternoon, free childcare while Sarah and Greg went to dinner, to the movies, on weekend trips. I changed diapers, helped with homework, made meals, gave baths. I never complained. They were my grandkids, and I loved them. But Sarah never said thank you. She criticized everything. My old car was an embarrassment. My apartment was depressing. My clothes were outdated. Why couldn't I dress better? Why couldn't I afford nicer things? She never asked why my retirement savings had dwindled from $400,000 to $75,000. She never wondered how I was getting by. I splashed cold water on my face and walked back to the dining room. Sarah was complaining to Greg about needing a kitchen renovation. Granite countertops were so outdated. She wanted quartz. Maybe a new backsplash. Her eyes flicked to me as I sat down. "Unless you're planning to help with that too, Dad?" She smiled, but her eyes were cold. I stood up. "I need to leave." Sarah rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh, here we go. So dramatic. Can't even take a joke." Greg leaned back in his chair. "We'll see you next weekend for babysitting, right? The kids are really looking forward to it." I looked at Emma, Jackson, and Lily. They were staring at their plates, uncomfortable. I grabbed my jacket and walked out without another word. The drive home was a blur. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I kept hearing Sarah's voice. "The day when you're gone." As if I were already dead to her. As if I were just an ATM that hadn't run out of cash yet. I pulled into my apartment complex, parked, and sat in the dark car for a long time. Patricia's last words echoed in my mind. She'd been so weak, barely able to speak, but she'd gripped my hand and made me promise. "Don't let them take advantage of you," she'd whispered. "Promise me you'll live for yourself." I'd promised. And I'd broken that promise every day since. I climbed the stairs to my second-floor apartment, unlocked the door, and turned on the lights. The place was tiny. 1 bedroom, a cramped kitchen, a living room, barely big enough for a couch and TV. This is what my life had become. Giving everything away until there was nothing left. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. $75,212. That's what remained of a lifetime of work. Of Patricia's life insurance. Of our dreams for retirement. Then I noticed something. Years ago, When I was paying Sarah and Greg's mortgage, I'd added myself as an account viewer on their mortgage payment app, just to make sure my payments were going through. I'd forgotten about it. I clicked on it now. The account still worked. What I saw made my blood run cold. 9 months ago, Greg had gotten a promotion. His salary was now $120,000 a year. They weren't struggling. They hadn't been struggling for months. I dug deeper, finding linked credit card statements. Sarah's spending history loaded on the screen. Designer purses, expensive dinners at steakhouses, a $5,000 shopping spree 2 weeks ago, jewelry, premium subscriptions, a weekend trip to Napa Valley last month that cost $3,000. They'd been lying to me. All those conversations about struggling to make ends meet, about being barely able to afford groceries, about the stress of bills piling up. All lies. While I lived in poverty, eating ramen noodles, and wearing the same 3 shirts, they were living large on my money. I felt something shift inside me. The hurt began to crystallize into something else. Something hard and cold and clear. I opened a drawer and pulled out a notebook. Patricia had given it to me for my 65th birthday, 2 months before she died. For your next chapter, she'd written inside the cover. I'd never used it. I clicked my pen and started writing. Friday morning, the day after Thanksgiving, I woke up with a clear head for the first time in years. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I dressed in my best suit, the one I wore to Patricia's funeral, and drove to my bank. The branch manager, a woman named Helen I'd known for 15 years, greeted me warmly. "David, good to see you. What can we help you with today?" "I need to close my account and withdraw everything in cash." Her smile faltered. "Close your account? Is everything all right?" "Everything's fine. I just need a fresh start." It took an hour to process. They had to call the main office to approve a cash withdrawal that large. Finally, Helen handed me a thick envelope containing $75,212 in hundreds and fifties. "Are you sure about this, David? This is your life savings." I tucked the envelope into my jacket. "I'm sure." From there, I drove across town to a different bank, one Sarah didn't know about. I opened a new account and deposited the cash. Then I went to see a lawyer. Frank Thompson's office was in a modest building downtown. I'd found him online, read good reviews. He was in his early 50s, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. I laid out everything. The money I'd given Sarah over the years, her cruelty, the lies about their finances, the Thanksgiving dinner. Frank listened without interrupting, taking notes. "Let me make sure I understand," he said when I finished. "Over the past 7 years, you've given your daughter approximately how much?" I'd done the math last night. $237,000. Give or take a few hundred. Frank whistled low. "And these were gifts, correct? Not loans?" "I never asked for anything back. I just wanted to help my daughter." "Then legally, you have no obligation to her whatsoever. Those were gifts freely given. She can't compel you to continue supporting her." "What about my grandchildren? Can she claim I'm abandoning them?" "You're not their legal guardian. You have no legal obligation to provide financial support, emotional support, visitation. That's all at your discretion." He leaned forward. "David, I'll be frank with you. Your daughter sounds like she's been financially exploiting you. You have every right to protect yourself. I want to pay off their mortgage. One final gift. And then I want nothing more to do with them." Frank raised his eyebrows. "You want to pay off their mortgage? After everything you've told me? I don't want them to claim I left them in hardship. I want to remove every excuse. Pay off the mortgage, and then I'm done." Frank nodded slowly. "All right, let me draft a letter for you." It took him 2 hours. When he finished, he read it aloud. The letter was cold, formal, factual. It listed every dollar I'd given Sarah. It stated that I was paying off their mortgage as my final gift. After that, I wanted no contact. No calls, no visits, no requests for money. I was done. "This should protect you legally," Frank said. "If she tries to claim you owe her anything, this letter establishes that all previous gifts were voluntary and that you've fulfilled any perceived obligation by paying off the mortgage." I paid Frank $500 for his time and left with the letter. "Next, I went to a travel website and booked a one-way ticket to Hawaii. Departure Tuesday, 4 days away. Then I searched for property in Maui. I found a small condo, 800 square feet, with an ocean view. The owner was motivated to sell. I made an offer of $50,000 down payment, financing the rest. By evening, the offer was accepted. I called my former employer. I'd been an accountant for 38 years before retiring. My old boss, Ron, answered on the second ring. "David, how are you? How's retirement treating you?" "Honestly, Ron, I'm looking for work. Part-time remote work. I'm moving to Hawaii." "Hawaii? Good for you. As it happens, we could use someone for contract work, tax season consulting, some bookkeeping for our smaller clients. Interested?" "Very interested." We worked out the details. 20 hours a week, flexible schedule, $35 an hour. It wouldn't make me rich, but combined with my Social Security, I could live comfortably. That weekend, I packed. I didn't have much. Clothes, books, photos of Patricia, my laptop, some kitchen items. I called my apartment manager and gave notice. My lease would end in 30 days. I'd be long gone by then. Monday morning arrived. I drove to Sarah's house at 10 in the morning, knowing they'd be at work and the kids at school. I still had the key Sarah had given me years ago for babysitting emergencies. The house was silent as I let myself in. I walked through the living room, seeing the expensive furniture, the huge TV, the decorations that cost more than my monthly rent. I climbed the stairs to Sarah's home office. I placed Frank's letter on her desk. Next to it, I set down a cashier's check for $112,000, the exact amount needed to pay off their mortgage. I'd gotten it that morning from my new bank. Then I pulled out a piece of paper and wrote by hand. "Sarah, you wanted me gone. You got your wish. The mortgage is paid. You'll never struggle again. And you'll never see me again. I hope it was worth it. Dad." I added copies of the bank statements I'd found, the ones showing their lies about being broke. I wanted her to know I knew the truth. I left the key on the desk and walked through the house one last time. In the hallway, I stopped at a photo wall. Pictures of Emma, Jackson, and Lily at various ages. Me holding baby Emma at the hospital. Me teaching Jackson to ride a bike. Me and Lily at the zoo. My chest tightened. For a moment, I wavered. Could I really do this? Could I really walk away from my grandchildren? But then I remembered Sarah's words. The cruelty in her eyes. The way Greg smirked. The lies. The manipulation. I walked out and closed the door behind me. As I reached my car, I heard a voice. "David, is that you?" Mrs. Patterson, the elderly neighbor from next door, was getting her mail. She was 78, a widow, always kind. "Hello, Mrs. Patterson." She walked over, concern on her face. "David, I'm so glad I caught you. I've been wanting to talk to you for weeks, but I didn't know how." "About what?" She glanced at Sarah's house, then back to me. "Last month, I was in my backyard gardening. Sarah and Greg were on their deck. Didn't know I could hear them. David, they were laughing about you. Greg said, 'Just keep him thinking we're struggling. He'll give us whatever we want.' And Sarah said, 'When he dies, we'll get whatever's left anyway.' The words hit me, but I wasn't surprised. Just sad. Thank you for telling me. There's more. I saw a moving truck at your apartment building yesterday. Are you leaving?" "I am. Permanently." Mrs. Patterson's eyes filled with tears. "Good for you, dear. They don't deserve you." She squeezed my hand. "I hope you find happiness wherever you're going." "Thank you. That means more than you know." I drove away without looking back. Tuesday morning, I boarded a plane to Maui. As the plane lifted off, and the mainland disappeared below, I felt something I hadn't felt in 7 years. Peace. Tuesday evening, I was on the plane somewhere over the Pacific Ocean when Sarah discovered my letter. I wouldn't learn the details until later, but I can imagine it clearly. Sarah coming home from work around 6 in the evening. Greg already there, probably drinking a beer and watching TV. Sarah heading to her office to check her email before dinner. Seeing the envelope on her desk, opening it, reading Frank's formal legal letter, her face going white, seeing the cashier's check, reading my handwritten note, seeing the bank statements that proved I knew about their lies. According to what I heard later, she screamed. Actually screamed Greg's name so loud that Mrs. Patterson heard it through the walls. Greg ran upstairs. They read everything together, and then the panic set in. See, they'd been counting on me. Greg had been planning to ask me to pay for private school for the kids next year, $40,000 annually. Sarah had been researching pool installations, $60,000, planning to ask me in the spring. They'd built their entire lifestyle around the assumption that I'd keep giving. Now the gravy train had derailed. Sarah grabbed her phone and called me. It went straight to voicemail. I'd turned my phone off before boarding the plane. She called again. And again. And again. By the time I landed in Hawaii and turned my phone back on Wednesday morning, I had 217 missed calls, 341 text messages. The messages told a story. They started apologetic. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean what I said. Please call me. We need to talk about this. I was stressed. It was a bad day. You know I love you. Then they turned desperate. Dad, please. The kids are asking for you. You're overreacting. It was just Thanksgiving stress. We need to discuss this like adults. Then angry. How dare you abandon your grandchildren? You're a selfish old man. We're family. You can't just walk away. And finally, threatening. You'll regret this. We'll make sure everyone knows what kind of father you are. There were messages from Greg too. Shorter, but just as revealing. David, we can work this out. Don't be stupid. Think about the kids. You're making a big mistake. Even the kids had sent messages. Emma, Grandpa, how could you leave us? We need you. Those hurt the most. But I'd deal with that later. I blocked all their numbers. My condo in Maui was perfect. Small, yes, but it had a lanai overlooking the ocean. I could hear waves crashing, smell salt air, see palm trees swaying. I unpacked my few belongings and felt like I could finally breathe. Thursday morning, I met my neighbors. Tom and Carol, a retired couple from Oregon, in their late 60s. They were friendly, invited me to coffee, welcomed me to the building. We sat on their lanai and talked for hours. They'd been in Maui for 5 years and loved it. What brought you to paradise? Carol asked. I gave them the short version. They listened with knowing expressions. My son did something similar, Tom said quietly. Bled me dry financially, then cut me off when I had nothing left. I moved here to get away from it. Best decision I ever made. It was nice to talk to people who understood. Friday, I started my consulting work. The routine was easy, familiar. I worked mornings, then spent afternoons exploring the island. I joined a senior swimming group, started making friends, started feeling human again. But Sarah wasn't done. Saturday morning, Tom knocked on my door holding his iPad. His face was grim. David, you need to see this. It was a Facebook post from Sarah. Posted Friday evening. It had already been shared 3,000 times. The post showed a professional photo of Sarah and her 3 kids, all looking somber. The text read, My heart is broken. My elderly father has abandoned his family, including his 3 young grandchildren who adore him. He took the money he promised us for their education and disappeared. We're desperately worried about him. If anyone has seen David, my last name, please contact us. He may be confused or ill. Mental health resources in comments. Please share to help us find him. Below were dozens of comments. Prayers for your family. This is heartbreaking. My father had dementia and did something similar. Get him help. What a terrible situation. People were sending Sarah money. Someone had started a GoFundMe. Help family abandoned by elderly father. It had already raised $12,000. I stared at the screen in disbelief. She'd painted me as either mentally ill or cruel. People believed her. Why wouldn't they? A concerned daughter looking for her missing father made for a compelling story. My phone started ringing. I'd unblocked it temporarily to check messages. Old friends were calling. David, what's going on? Sarah says you disappeared. Are you okay? Do you need help? Where are you? Everyone's worried. I tried to explain, but it sounded defensive. No, I'm fine. I just needed space. Sarah and I had a disagreement, but the narrative was already set. A loving daughter worried about her elderly father who'd wandered off in confusion. Sunday, I learned that Greg had taken it further. One of my former colleagues called. David, I heard from someone at Greg's company. He told his boss you're mentally declining, that you wandered off, and they're trying to get you into memory care. His company did a fundraiser for him, raised $8,000 for his family crisis. That's a lie. I'm perfectly fine. I believe you, David. But a lot of people don't know that. I sat on my lanai that evening, watching the sunset, and feeling sick. Sarah had weaponized social media. She'd turned my act of self-preservation into a story of abandonment and mental illness. And people believed her. Monday, Tom showed me more. The post had been shared 10,000 times now. Local news in my old town had picked it up. Concerned daughters searching for missing elderly father. My reputation was being destroyed. People I'd known for decades thought I was either senile or heartless. I tried to fight back. I created a Facebook account and posted my side of the story. I explained the money I'd given, the lies, the cruelty, the truth. The comments came fast. Elderly people often have delusions. This is sad. He clearly needs help. This sounds like paranoia. Then Sarah commented on my post. Dad, please come home. We love you. We'll get you the help you need. Everyone, please ignore this. He's not well. It made me look even worse. Like a confused old man lashing out. I deleted my post. Deactivated the account. There was no winning this battle on social media. She'd gotten there first with the perfect victim narrative. Wednesday, a FedEx envelope arrived at my condo. I had no idea how Sarah found my address. Maybe she'd hired a private investigator. Maybe she'd tracked my credit card or bank records somehow. Inside was a letter from a law firm. Sarah's attorney. The letter was brutal. It accused me of financial elder abuse, claiming I was not mentally competent, and that Sarah and Greg were trying to protect my assets. It threatened guardianship proceedings, claimed I owed them money for promised gifts and breach of oral contract, demanded I return to their state immediately for a psychiatric evaluation. If I didn't comply within 14 days, they'd file a lawsuit and petition a court to freeze my assets, pending a competency hearing. I read it 3 times, each time feeling more trapped. I sat on my lanai, the letter in my shaking hands, and wondered if I'd made a terrible mistake. Sarah was winning. She'd turned everyone against me. Now she was threatening to take what little I had left. For the first time since leaving, I considered giving up. Going back, apologizing, making peace. The sun set over the ocean, beautiful and indifferent. I felt more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. My first week in Hawaii had started with hope. By the second week, I was barely sleeping. I made the mistake of turning my phone back on for work purposes. The messages flooded in immediately. Sarah had gotten my new number somehow. 217 calls became 400. 341 texts became over 600. The messages were exhausting. Dad, you're being selfish. Think about what you're doing to your grandchildren. Everyone thinks you've lost your mind. Just admit you need help and come home. We can fix this if you just apologize. Apologize? For what? For refusing to be used anymore? I blocked the new number. She got another one. I blocked that. She got another. Friday morning, Sarah escalated. I woke up to find she'd created a viral TikTok video. She was crying on camera, her kids beside her looking sad. Please help us find my dad, she sobbed. He's 67 years old. He left on Thanksgiving and we haven't heard from him. We're so worried. He might be confused. He might be in danger. If you see this, Dad, please come home. We love you. The video had 2 million views. Comments poured in. Praying for your family. My grandpa had Alzheimer's and did this. This is so scary. Have you called the police? The GoFundMe she'd started now had $28,000. People were sending money to help the family abandoned by their elderly father. Tom knocked on my door that afternoon. His face was serious. David, you need to see something else. He showed me his iPad. Jerry, my former neighbor back home, had seen Sarah's social media posts. Jerry was 62, a retired teacher, a good man. He'd known me for years. And he was furious. Jerry had posted on Facebook, "I know David. He's not missing or confused. His daughter treated him terribly for years, took his money, and then insulted him to his face on Thanksgiving. He left because he was tired of being used. Sarah is lying to get sympathy and money. Don't fall for it." I felt a surge of gratitude. Finally, someone speaking the truth. But Sarah deleted Jerry's comment and blocked him within minutes. Then she posted, "Someone is spreading vicious lies about our family. Please ignore any negative comments. We're just trying to find my dad." Jerry tried posting on his own page. His post was shared a few hundred times, but Sarah's had been shared tens of thousands. The truth couldn't compete with the victim narrative. Monday morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mr. David. Last name?" "Yes. This is Adult Protective Services in Hawaii. We received a report of concern about you. We need to schedule a home visit." My stomach dropped. "A report? From who?" "I can't disclose that, but we take all reports seriously. We've been told you may be a vulnerable adult, being taken advantage of, or experiencing cognitive decline." Sarah. She'd somehow tracked me to Hawaii and filed a report with APS. "I'm perfectly fine. This is harassment from my daughter." "I understand, sir, but we still need to conduct a wellness check. It's procedure." They came Wednesday morning. A social worker named Jennifer, middle-aged and professional. She asked me questions for an hour. "What day is it? Who's the president? Can you count backward from 100 by sevens? Do you know where you are? Are you taking any medications? Has anyone threatened you or coerced you?" It was humiliating. Being treated like I might not know my own name, but I passed every test easily. Jennifer seemed satisfied. "Mr. Last name, you appear to be in good mental and physical health. You clearly understand your decisions and are capable of managing your own affairs. I'll close this case. Thank you. However, I have to warn you, if we receive another report, we'll have to investigate again." After she left, I sat on my lanai and stared at the ocean. Sarah was relentless. Every time I thought I'd found peace, she found a new way to attack. Thursday brought another crisis. My new bank called. "Mr. Last name, we need to inform you that your account has been temporarily frozen." "What? Why?" "We received notification from state authorities of a fraud investigation. Until it's resolved, we can't allow any transactions." "A fraud investigation? Of what?" "I can't provide details. You'll need to contact the State Attorney General's office." I called immediately. After being transferred 4 times, I finally reached someone who could explain. "Mr. Last Name, we received a detailed report from your daughter alleging financial irregularities. She provided bank records showing large withdrawals and claims you may be hiding money or have been victimized by scammers. I withdrew my own money from my own account. That's not fraud. We have to investigate all reports. The freeze should be lifted within 10 to 14 business days." 10 to 14 days. I couldn't access my money for up to 2 weeks. I couldn't pay my mortgage, utilities, credit card bill. I'd missed my condo payment. I called Tom and Carol in desperation. I hated asking, but I had no choice. "Can I borrow $3,000? I'll pay you back as soon as my account is unfrozen." "Of course," Tom said immediately. "Don't even worry about it." Their kindness made me want to cry. That week, 2 of my consulting clients dropped me. They'd heard about the investigation. One said directly, "We can't have any legal complications. We have to protect our company." My income cut in half overnight. Friday evening, I hit my lowest point. I sat alone on the beach after sunset. The tourists had gone home. The beach was empty except for me and the sound of waves. I thought about just giving up, going back, apologizing to Sarah, even though I'd done nothing wrong. Maybe she'd drop everything if I just surrendered. I felt like a failure, a bad father, a selfish old man, just like she said. I even thought about Patricia. Would she be disappointed in me? Did I let her down? Then I heard footsteps in the sand. Tom sat down beside me without asking. "Rough day? Rough week. Rough month." We sat in silence for a while. My daughter did something similar to me 20 years ago, Tom said finally. Bled me dry financially, then threw me away, when I had nothing left. Told everyone I was a terrible father. I ran, just like you. Moved to Colorado first, then here. Did it get better? The first year was hell. She told everyone I was a deadbeat, turned my grandkids against me. But you know what? I lived. I built a new life. And eventually, the truth came out. It always does. What if it doesn't? Then you still have your peace. Your dignity. Your freedom. Tom looked at me. She can't hurt you anymore if you don't let her. Carol appeared, walking across the sand toward us. She sat on my other side. Sweetheart, you've got to stop letting her live in your head, she said gently. She's not here. You are. This is your life now. But what if she wins? What if she takes everything? She already took everything she could, Tom said. You left her nothing else to take. That's why she's so desperate. I sat there between these two people who barely knew me but cared more than my own daughter. And something clicked. Sarah could post whatever she wanted on social media. She could lie to whoever she wanted. She could file false reports and make threats. But she couldn't actually touch me. Not here. Not if I didn't let her. I stood up from the sand, brushed myself off, and looked at Tom and Carol. Thank you. Really. Thank you both. We walked back toward the condos together. I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Determination. I was done running from ghosts. 3 weeks after arriving in Hawaii, I'd lost 15 pounds. My clothes hung loose. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep more than a few hours at a time. Every morning I woke up with anxiety crushing my chest. Tom and Carol were worried. They'd invite me over for meals, make sure I ate something, but food tasted like cardboard. I hired a Hawaii attorney named Margaret Walsh. She was 54, sharp, experienced. Her office was in Lahaina, and she specialized in family law. Margaret reviewed everything. Sarah's social media posts, the threatening letter from Sarah's attorney, the APS investigation, the frozen bank account. David, these claims are nonsense, Margaret said, but defending against them will cost money. I'm looking at $30,000 minimum to fight a guardianship proceeding if she files one. I did the math in my head. After buying the condo, the cashier's check for Sarah's mortgage, legal fees, and moving expenses, I had about $25,000 left in accessible funds. I don't have $30,000. Then we need to be strategic. We fight what we must and ignore what we can. But ignoring wasn't working. Sarah kept escalating. The next attack came through the mail. 3 handwritten letters, forwarded from my old address. 1 from each grandchild. Emma's letter was written in purple ink on notebook paper. Dear Grandpa, I'm in therapy now because you left. My therapist says I have abandonment issues. I thought you loved me. How could you just disappear? I cry every night. Mom says you might be sick and don't remember us. But I don't understand. Please come back. I need you. Love, Emma. My hands shook as I read it. I could hear Sarah's voice in every word. This wasn't Emma. This was Sarah coaching Emma on what to write. Jackson's letter was shorter. Grandpa, I failed my math test because I was too sad to study. Mom says we might lose our house because you took back the mortgage money. Why did you steal from us? I thought you were good. Love, Jackson. Steal. A 12-year-old calling me a thief. Lily's letter destroyed me. Dear Grandpa, I drew you a picture. Are you dead? Mom says you might be sick and forgot who we are. I miss you. Please don't be dead. Love, Lily. She'd included a crayon drawing of me and her holding hands. A rainbow in the sky. I sat on my lanai and cried like I hadn't cried since Patricia died. These were my grandchildren. I'd held them as babies, taught them to walk, read them bedtime stories, and now Sarah was using them as weapons. I wanted to call, wanted to explain, wanted to tell them I loved them, that this wasn't about them. But I knew if I reached out, Sarah would use it against me. She'd record the call, twist my words, use it as proof I was unstable or manipulative. I was trapped. That night, I almost called Sarah to surrender. My phone was in my hand, her number on the screen. All I had to do was press call and say, I'm sorry, I'll come back. I'll help. Whatever you need. Tom knocked on my door before I could do it. He took one look at my face and called Carol. They brought me to their place, made me tea, let me talk. She's coaching them, I said. Those letters aren't from the kids. They're from Sarah using the kids. We know, Carol said gently. But what if I'm wrong? What if the kids really do feel abandoned? Then that's on Sarah for poisoning them against you, Tom said firmly. You can't light yourself on fire to keep other people warm. The next blow came Tuesday morning. My brother Martin called. We hadn't spoken in 12 years, not since we fought over our mother's estate. Martin had always resented me, thought I was the favorite child. David, I heard from your daughter. Of course she'd found him. Martin, whatever she told you. She says you're having mental problems, paranoid delusions, that you abandoned your family, and she's worried you'll hurt yourself. That's not true. She's lying. Is it? Because this sounds exactly like something an unstable person would do? Disappear to Hawaii? Cut off your whole family? I cut off one person. Sarah. Because she was using me. That's your daughter you're talking about. Family doesn't walk away. We argued for 20 minutes before I hung up. But the damage was done. Martin filed a complaint with Adult Protective Services in Hawaii, claiming I was a vulnerable adult being exploited or suffering from dementia. Another APS worker showed up at my door 2 days later. Another humiliating interview. More cognitive tests. More questions about whether I understood my decisions, whether anyone was coercing me, whether I felt safe. The worker eventually determined I was fine, but the process took 2 weeks and left me feeling violated, treated like a child who couldn't manage his own life. Then came the financial attack. Somehow, Sarah got access to my old bank records. Maybe she charmed a sympathetic employee. Maybe she forged something. I don't know. But she got them. She created a detailed spreadsheet showing every withdrawal I'd made over the past 6 months. Large withdrawals to close my account, the down payment on the condo, moving expenses. She spun it into a narrative of financial irresponsibility or exploitation. She filed a report with the State Attorney General's office claiming I'd been scammed or was hiding money from creditors. It triggered another investigation. My new bank account in Hawaii was frozen again, this time for 12 days. I couldn't pay anything. My mortgage payment bounced. My credit card payment was late. My phone bill went unpaid. My credit score dropped 80 points. Margaret Walsh fought the freeze, finally got it lifted, but not before the damage was done. 2 more consulting clients dropped me, afraid of legal complications. I was down to 1 client and Social Security, barely enough to survive. I sat on the beach one night, completely alone, and wondered if I should just end this. Not my life, but the fight. Maybe I should just disappear completely, change my name, start over somewhere else, run until Sarah couldn't find me. But I was so tired of running. Tom found me there after midnight. He sat down without speaking. Finally, I said, I don't know if I can do this anymore. You can. What if she wins? What if she destroys everything I have left? She already took everything she could take, David. Your money, your peace, your reputation. What else is left? Me dignity. Then hold on to that. It's the one thing she can't touch. We sat there for a long time. The waves crashed, the stars came out, and slowly, very slowly, I felt something shift inside me. Sarah could post lies on social media. She could file false reports. She could drain my bank account and ruin my credit. She could turn people against me, but she couldn't make me give up. She couldn't make me surrender who I was. I stood up from the sand. I'm done letting her win, I said. Tom smiled. Good. Because it's time to fight back. Monday morning, I walked into Margaret Walsh's office with a new attitude. I want to fight back, I told her. What do I need? Margaret leaned back in her chair. Evidence. If you want to shut this down permanently, we need proof of what really happened. Proof that she manipulated you, lied to you, exploited you. Right now, it's your word against hers. And she's winning the PR battle. I have bank statements showing they lied about being broke. That's good. But we need more. We need to prove a pattern of manipulation over time. I spent the next 3 days gathering everything I could find. I pulled bank records going back 7 years, showing every gift I'd given Sarah. I found text messages where she'd demanded money. I created a detailed timeline of her behavior, every request for cash, every guilt trip, every veiled threat that if I didn't help, I wouldn't see my grandchildren. It was all there, documented. Margaret reviewed everything with a critical eye. This is helpful. It establishes a pattern. But in court, Sarah will claim these were voluntary gifts and that you're bitter now about your own generosity. We need something stronger. That's when I got an email that changed everything. The sender was someone named Jennifer Harris. I didn't recognize the name. The subject line read, "About Sarah and Greg." I opened it. "Mr. Last Name? My name is Jennifer Harris. I was Greg's girlfriend before he married your daughter. I saw Sarah's social media posts about you, and I was disgusted. Greg and Sarah are con artists. They did the exact same thing to Greg's parents that they're doing to you. I have proof. If you want it, call me." She included her phone number. I called immediately. Jennifer answered on the second ring. She was 42, lived in Portland, worked as a dental hygienist. She dated Greg for 3 years before he met Sarah. "I felt guilty for years about not speaking up," Jennifer said. "But when I saw what they're doing to you, I couldn't stay silent." She told me the story. 8 years ago, when Greg first started dating Sarah, Greg's parents had given them $90,000 to buy a house. Greg's parents were in their early 70s, retired, comfortable. They loved Greg and wanted to help. Greg and Sarah promised they'd take care of Greg's parents as they aged. They'd have them over for holidays, help with medical appointments, make sure they were never alone. 2 years later, Greg and Sarah cut off all contact, stopped returning calls, didn't invite them for holidays, made excuses whenever the parents asked to visit. Greg's father died of a heart attack 5 years ago. He died alone in his apartment. Greg didn't visit him in the hospital, didn't help with the funeral arrangements. Sarah didn't even send a card. Greg's mother was still alive, 76 now, living in an assisted living facility. She hadn't seen her son or grandchildren in 6 years. She'd tried reaching out hundreds of times. Greg blocked her number. "It broke my heart," Jennifer said. "I tried to tell Greg he was being cruel. He just laughed and said his parents were annoying and he'd already gotten what he needed from them. Do you have proof of any of this?" I kept emails, text messages. I knew Greg was a bad person, and I guess I wanted evidence in case I needed it someday. "I'll send you everything." Within an hour, my inbox was full. Emails from Greg to Jennifer talking about milking my parents dry. Text messages where Greg joked about avoiding his mother's calls. Messages from Sarah to Jennifer bragging about how much money they'd gotten and how they'd never have to deal with annoying in-laws again. It was damning. It showed this wasn't a one-time thing with me. It was a pattern. Greg and Sarah targeted older family members for money, then discarded them. Margaret reviewed everything, her expression growing more serious with each page. "David, this changes everything. This isn't just a family dispute. This is a pattern of financial exploitation. We can use this." But there was more. Wednesday afternoon, I got a call from Margaret's office. Her paralegal had tracked down Mrs. Patterson, my old neighbor. Mrs. Patterson, it turned out, had something important. She had Ring doorbell footage. Her doorbell camera faced her front yard, but it also captured audio from Sarah and Greg's backyard. Last October, a month before Thanksgiving, Mrs. Patterson had been reviewing footage, trying to find out who'd stolen a package from her porch. She'd found something else instead. Margaret's investigator retrieved the footage. We watched it in Margaret's office. The video showed Mrs. Patterson's empty front yard, but the audio was clear. Sarah and Greg's voices, coming from their backyard. "Greg, so when are we hitting up your dad again? My truck needs new tires. That's what, $1,500? Sarah, I was thinking bigger. What about that Europe trip we've been talking about? Greg, can we get him to pay for that? Sarah, easily. I'll just tell him the kids need something. Educational trip to broaden their horizons. He'll fall for it. Greg, your dad's still got at least 50 grand left, right? Think we can get all of it? Sarah, probably. He's pathetic. Falls for anything. I just have to cry a little and mention the grandkids. Greg, When's he gonna kick it anyway? What's he, 68? Sarah, 67. Unfortunately, his health is good. Could be another 10 years. Greg, well, at least when he goes, we get whatever's left. Sarah, unless he's already given it all to us. Laughter from both. Greg, either way, we win. The audio continued, but I couldn't listen anymore. Hearing my daughter's voice, so cold, so calculating, talking about my death like it was an inconvenience. Margaret stopped the recording. David, this is gold. This proves premeditation. It proves they were actively planning to exploit you. This, combined with Jennifer's evidence of them doing the same thing to Greg's parents, establishes a clear pattern. Can we use this in court? Absolutely. Oregon is a one-party consent state for recordings, and this was captured inadvertently by a security camera on private property. It's admissible. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope. But Margaret wasn't done. There's one more thing. My investigator looked into the GoFundMe Sarah started. The one where she raised $12,000 claiming you abandoned the family and took money promised for education. What about it? You never promised money for education in writing, correct? Never. I never made any promises about paying for anything. Then that's fraud. She raised money under false pretenses. We can report this to GoFundMe and to law enforcement. Wire fraud is a federal crime. I sat back in my chair, overwhelmed. We had evidence. Real, solid evidence. Not just my word against Sarah's, but proof. Recordings. Emails. Bank statements. A pattern of behavior spanning years. What do we do with all this? I asked. Margaret smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a lawyer who knew she had a winning hand. We go on offense. That evening, I went back to my condo and actually ate a full meal for the first time in days. Tom and Carol came over, and I told them everything. She made a mistake, Tom said. She got greedy. If she'd just left you alone, you would have stayed gone, and she could have kept playing the victim. But she came after you too hard. And now you've got her. I went to bed that night and slept for 8 hours straight. When I woke up Thursday morning, the anxiety that had been crushing my chest for weeks was gone. Margaret was right. It was time to go on offense. Margaret Walsh didn't waste time. Within 72 hours of gathering all our evidence, she launched a coordinated attack. On Monday morning, she filed 5 separate actions simultaneously. First, a defamation lawsuit against Sarah for the social media posts claiming I was mentally ill or had abandoned my family. We had proof she knew I was fine and had deliberately lied to manipulate public opinion. Second, a formal complaint to GoFundMe documenting the fraud. Sarah had raised $12,000 by claiming I'd stolen money promised for education. We had bank records proving I'd never promised any such thing. GoFundMe's terms of service strictly prohibited fraudulent fundraising. Third, a detailed report to Greg's employer. Margaret had discovered that Greg had told his boss I was suffering from dementia and had wandered off, claiming a family emergency to get time off. The company had held a fundraiser that raised $8,000. We had evidence Greg had lied, including my psychiatric evaluations, proving I was mentally competent. Fourth, a formal complaint to the State Attorney General's office documenting Sarah's harassment, the fraudulent reports, and the pattern of financial exploitation. We included Jennifer's evidence about Greg's parents and the Ring doorbell recording. Fifth, a cease and desist letter sent to both Sarah and Greg. The letter was 37 pages long and included every piece of evidence we'd gathered: the recording, the emails, the bank statements, Jennifer's testimony, Mrs. Patterson's statement. Everything. The letter made clear. If they contacted me again, if they made another false report, if they posted anything else about me on social media, we would pursue criminal charges for harassment, fraud, and elder abuse. Margaret had copies sent certified mail and via email. There was no way they could claim they hadn't received it. The response was immediate. Within 48 hours, GoFundMe froze Sarah's account. They sent her a formal notice that she'd violated their terms of service and must return all funds within 30 days or face legal action. They also flagged her account and posted a warning about fraudulent fundraising. Sarah tried to delete the GoFundMe page, but it was too late. Margaret's investigator had archived everything. Screenshots, donor lists, every lying word Sarah had written. Greg's employer moved even faster. By Wednesday, Greg was called into a meeting with HR and his supervisor. They'd investigated his claims about me. They'd seen the psychiatric evaluations proving I was fine. They'd seen the evidence that Greg had lied to get time off and sympathy donations. Greg was fired on the spot for violating company ethics policies and defrauding the company fundraiser. He was required to return the $8,000 the company had raised. His reputation in the marketing industry was destroyed. Word spread fast in professional circles. Sarah received Margaret's 37-page letter on Thursday. I wasn't there, but Margaret's investigator had a contact who told us what happened. Sarah had opened the envelope, started reading, and gone pale. She'd called her attorney immediately, the one who'd sent me the threatening letter about guardianship. Her attorney reviewed our evidence. Then he told Sarah the truth. She had no case. Worse, she was vulnerable to criminal prosecution for fraud. His advice was simple. Drop everything immediately, return all the money she'd fraudulently raised, and pray I didn't press charges. Sarah tried to salvage something. She called her attorney back and asked if she could countersue for emotional distress. He told her no. Everything she'd done was documented. The recording alone would destroy her in court. She talked about manipulating me, waiting for me to die, planning to exploit me. No jury would have sympathy. Sarah panicked. She spent Friday deleting her social media posts. But it was pointless. Jerry, my old neighbor, had been screenshotting everything from the beginning. He posted all of it on his own Facebook page, with a long explanation of the truth. This woman lied about her father being missing to scam people out of money, Jerry wrote. She exploited her own children to manipulate sympathy. She's a fraud and a con artist. Here's proof. The post went viral. Not as viral as Sarah's original posts, but enough. Thousands of people saw it. People who donated to Sarah's GoFundMe were furious. The comments were brutal. I sent this woman $50. She's disgusting. Using your own kids to scam people. What kind of mother does that? That poor father. I hope he never speaks to her again. Sarah's friends started distancing themselves. Other parents at Emma, Jackson, and Lily's school heard about it. Suddenly, Sarah was the topic of gossip. Playdates got canceled. Invitations stopped coming. Sarah had made herself a social pariah. Then Greg delivered the final blow. With no job, facing the requirement to pay back $8,000, and his reputation in ruins, Greg turned on Sarah. This was your idea, he told her, according to what Emma later told me. You pushed your dad too hard. You got too greedy. I'm not going down with you. Greg moved out of the house. Filed for separation. Told his attorney he wanted primary custody of the kids, claiming Sarah was mentally unstable. Within 2 weeks, Sarah was alone. No husband. No job. She'd quit working when Greg got his high-paying position. No friends. Drowning in debt. She still owed $112,000 on the mortgage because my cashier's check had never cleared. She had to return $12,000 to GoFundMe donors. Greg was demanding she pay him back for the $8,000 his company wanted, returned. Sarah couldn't afford any of it. She had no income and no savings. They'd been living beyond their means, counting on bleeding me dry to sustain their lifestyle. By April, Sarah had to sell the house. She couldn't afford the mortgage payments. The house sold quickly in a good market, but after paying off the mortgage and realtor fees, there wasn't much left. Sarah moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment in a cheaper part of town. She got a job working retail at a department store, $10 an hour. Her fall had been spectacular. I learned all of this from Tom and Carol, who heard it from their daughter, who still had connections in my old town. I didn't feel joy hearing about Sarah's situation, just a deep sadness. But then something unexpected happened. In late May, I received an email from Emma, my 15-year-old granddaughter. Not coached by Sarah this time. I could tell immediately by the tone. Grandpa, I heard what really happened. Mom told us you were sick and confused, and that you'd abandoned us. She made us write those letters to you. She told us what to say. I'm so sorry. I understand now that she was lying. I understand if you don't want to talk to us anymore, but I want you to know that I'm sorry and that I love you. I cried reading it. Not sad tears this time. Something else. Jackson sent a similar email. Even Lily sent a short note. Grandpa, I miss you. I'm sorry Mommy was mean to you. Can I come visit you in Hawaii someday? I wrote back to each of them. Individually. Honestly. I told Emma I loved her, and that I'd never stopped loving any of them. I explained that I'd needed to protect myself from their mother's behavior, but that had nothing to do with them. I told her my door was always open. I told Jackson the same. I thanked him for his honesty, and said I was proud of him for seeking the truth. I told Lily that, yes, someday when she was older, she could absolutely visit me in Hawaii. I'd take her to see the sea turtles. Over the next few months, we rebuilt a relationship. Slow, careful, but genuine. Emma video called me every Sunday. We'd talk about school, her friends, her plans for college. Jackson sent me his report card. Straight B's and 1A in history. I told him I was proud. Lily mailed me drawings. I hung every single one on my refrigerator. Sarah tried to reach out once in June. A brief email. Dad, I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk? I didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. 2 weeks later, she sent a longer email. This one felt more genuine. She admitted what she'd done, acknowledged the manipulation, apologized for using the kids, said she understood if I never wanted to speak to her again. I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back one sentence. I accept your apology, but I need you to respect my boundaries. No contact except through the kids when necessary. She didn't argue, didn't push. Just wrote back, I understand. By August, 6 months after I'd left, my life had completely changed. I was healthy again. I'd gained back the weight I'd lost. My consulting business was thriving. I'd picked up 3 new clients and was making decent money. Combined with Social Security, I was comfortable. I'd made real friends in Hawaii. Tom and Carol felt like family. I'd joined a book club, started volunteering at a local community center, teaching seniors how to use computers. And I'd started dating. Her name was Barbara, 65 years old, retired nurse, part of my swimming group. We'd been on 6 dates. Nothing serious yet, but she made me laugh. I hadn't laughed like that in years. One evening in late August, Tom and Carol invited me and Barbara over for dinner. Tom had caught fresh mahi-mahi that morning. Carol made her famous mango salsa. We sat on their lanai, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple. The air smelled like salt and flowers. The sound of waves provided background music. Tom raised his glass of wine. To David. To second chances. To knowing when to walk away, Barbara added. To finding family where you least expect it. Carol smiled at me. To choosing yourself. I raised my glass, and we all toasted. I looked around at these people who'd become so important to me in such a short time. Not related by blood, connected by something better, genuine care and respect. I thought about Sarah, working retail, living in a small apartment, alone. I didn't feel vindictive, just sad for who she'd become, for what she'd thrown away. But mostly, I felt grateful. You know what Sarah said to me on Thanksgiving? I said to the group. She said the best gift would be the day when I'm gone. She wanted me gone. And now? Barbara asked. I smiled. She got her wish. I'm gone, and I've never been more grateful. We ate dinner, as the sun dipped below the horizon. The conversation flowed easily. Laughter, stories, plans for a hiking trip next weekend. Later that night, back in my condo, I stood on my lanai looking at the stars. The ocean whispered against the shore. A warm breeze carried the scent of plumeria flowers. I thought about Patricia and the promise I'd made her, to live for myself. I'd finally kept that promise. I thought about the 7 years I'd spent giving everything away. The $237,000. The time. The energy. The pieces of myself I'd sacrificed trying to be a good father, a good grandfather, and I thought about what I'd learned. Some lessons take 67 years to learn, but better late than never. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. It's allowing yourself to be destroyed in the name of family. I learned that walking away from toxicity isn't abandonment. It's self-preservation. It's survival. I learned that you can't force people to appreciate you. You can give everything you have, sacrifice everything you are, and some people will still see you as nothing more than a resource to be exploited. I learned that sometimes the best gift you can give someone is consequences. Sarah needed to learn that actions have repercussions, that you can't use people forever, that eventually, people will protect themselves. I learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes your real family is the people who show up when you're at your lowest. Tom and Carol, Margaret Walsh, Mrs. Patterson, Jerry. These people, who owed me nothing, gave me everything. And I learned that it's never too late to choose yourself. At 67 years old, I'd walked away from everything familiar and started over, and it was the best decision I'd ever made. The truth is, people will call you selfish for protecting yourself. They'll say family is everything. They'll guilt you and manipulate you and tell you that walking away makes you the bad guy. But here's what I know now. If your family is destroying you, you have every right to save yourself. You're not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You're not required to sacrifice your peace, your health, your finances, your dignity for people who see you as nothing more than a means to an end. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary. And anyone who tells you otherwise is someone who benefits from you having none. I spent 67 years being the provider, the caretaker, the giver, always putting everyone else first, always sacrificing for others. And where did it leave me? Used up, disrespected, insulted to my face on Thanksgiving. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done. The guilt was crushing. The loneliness was devastating. The attacks from Sarah nearly broke me, but I survived. And on the other side of that pain, I found something I'd lost years ago. Myself. Sarah wanted me gone. She got her wish. And I have never been happier, healthier, or more at peace. If you're reading this and you're in a similar situation, if someone in your life is using you, draining you, destroying you, please hear me. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to set boundaries and protect your peace. People will judge you. They'll call you names. They'll try to manipulate you back into accepting mistreatment. Let them. Their opinion doesn't define you. Your peace matters more than their approval. You deserve better. You deserve respect. You deserve to live the rest of your life on your own terms. Don't wait until you're broken. Don't wait until there's nothing left of you. Set your boundaries. Protect yourself. Choose you. That's not selfish. That's survival. And sometimes, survival is the bravest thing you can do. I'm 67 years old. I live in a small condo in Hawaii. I have enough money to be comfortable. I have real friends. I have a relationship with my grandchildren built on honesty instead of manipulation. I have peace, and I have no regrets. Well, one regret. I wish I'd done it sooner. I stood on my lanai under the stars, listening to the ocean, feeling the warm breeze, and I smiled. Sarah wanted me gone. Thank you, Sarah. You gave me the push I needed to finally save myself. And for that, I'll always be grateful. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting yourself? Have you ever walked away from family or someone close because they were using you? How did you find the courage to do it? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if you know someone who needs to hear this message, please hit that like button and share this video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories about real life, real struggles, and real triumphs. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are, whatever you're facing, you find the courage to choose yourself. You deserve it. Take care of yourselves, and remember, it's never too late to start over.